Paul, we got to talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Pop music.
Pop music. Talk about. We got to talk about something that we've talked about several years in a row here. We got to talk about a little something called the Mr. Microphone toy. When I realized we had somehow inadvertently hit upon our own Christmas tradition merely by chance talking about the Mr. Microphone commercial on 2 consecutive best of episodes, I realized we had to keep it going. Here's what it stems from. There is a phrase in these commercials. Paul, maybe you want to say exactly what it is.
The phrase is, hey, good looking, we'll be back to pick you up later.
Hey, good looking, we'll be back to pick you up later.
Sometimes I'll, sometimes we'll. What they promised you was that you would be able to walk by someone listening to the radio, turn on your microphone, usurp the very airwaves themselves, and hijack, like a pirate radio station, hijack their radio and talk directly to these people who would be so surprised and not afraid of you and not thrown by this that they would fall into your arms and fall in love with you. Is that right, Paul?
They would be delighted.
They would love that. They would say, finally someone has harnessed this technology for good.
Finally. I've been waiting for someone to do this.
Someone to talk to me via my radio. That is the promise of Mr. Microphone. And I had imagined in my mind a situation where I would be throwing my voice like a ventriloquist, a Mr. Microphone ventriloquist, into other people's radios.
Rod, Todd, this is God.
Or like a terrifying big brother who controlled all methods of communication.
Sure, certainly.
One of those.
Yes. Damn. Back at
it again with the white vans.
In previous years, and this comes up, we'll say, hey, good looking, I'll be back to pick you up later. Or, hey, good looking, we'll be back to pick you up later. And that just came up 2 different years, and then we broke down the commercial and our problems with it.
Yeah.
Now, I have not seen this commercial in 30 years. It has just been seared into my brain.
Me too.
I had been watching this commercial for years and years, and I had...
Because they did use the same commercial for a very long time.
For a very long time. And the situations were at a party. Hey, I'm going to get on the microphone. Everyone's going to be like, whoa, you got a microphone in your house?
Yeah.
Which is not typical house
Whoa.
accoutrement.
Yeah, no, it's not. Sinks. Everyone's got those.
Sure. Let's run it down. Toilets?
Toilets. Windows.
I hope you have a door.
Kitchen counter.
Floors? I hope so. Otherwise, you're going to the center of the earth, my dear boy.
Silverware drawer?
They said the civil rights drawer.
Civil rights drawer where you... You celebrate Loving Day by pulling out your marriage certificate.
Your junk drawer. Junk drawer. Toilets. Did I mention toilets?
You did.
Of course.
You're very fond of them.
I love them.
Stairs sometimes.
Stairs sometimes. We're on to things that some homes have. Okay.
Backyard.
Backyard, front yard.
All around the house.
Rooftop pool.
Wet bar.
Sure. These are things every home has. But microphone? Nagada.
Not in those days. Nagada.
Nagada. Not in those days.
Nagada. Never said it.
So that's very impressive. Walking down the street, that's very impressive. But the one that stuck out in Paul and I, the minds of 2 young boys such as Paul and I, was where a gentleman, and I think he was a gentleman.
He was
a perfect gentleman.
He was a perfect gentleman.
In this situation, he acted like a perfect gentleman.
He was gallant, respectful, chivalrous.
Of course.
A perfect gentleman.
A perfect gentleman. Driving like in a Jeep, an open-faced Jeep.
Oh, my God.
Excuse me, may I order an open-faced Jeep?
Oh, my God. Do you remember that episode of MASH where Klinger ate the Jeep?
Oh, yes, I do.
Open-faced.
Open-faced, of course. in my recollection of it is it's a Jeep.
I think you're saying your rectum.
My rectum.
In my rectum, it's a Jeep.
In my rectum is a Jeep. No, my recollection is that the gentleman was in a Jeep, something without a top, certainly a convertible. He saw two women walking on the sidewalk. I'm not going to say down the street.
Just the other day.
And in my recollection, they were wearing swimsuits. Is that yours as well?
Scott, can I tell you? My recollection has changed.
What?
Yes.
Since the very last time we talked about this 1 year ago?
Yes. Here's what I see now in my mind.
Is this because you've watched the commercial in question so many times?
I think it must be.
It may be have influenced this a little bit.
But I'm retreating to my memory palace. And what I see there is two gentlemen in a convertible.
Convertible.
We are seeing the back of the car. One gentleman who is holding the Mr. Microphone, and he is.
Is he driving or is he the passenger?
He's a passenger, and he is a perfect gentleman.
But just a perfect gentleman.
He is turning around, facing the camera.
Facing the camera, yes.
And saying into Monsieur le Microphone.
La la.
Hey, good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later.
And this is what I would imagine, is that I would be in a situation where I would buy a Mr. Microphone. I would find some good-looking women listening to their radios, and I would turn on my microphone and take over their radio.
That's right.
And out of their radio, they would hear my voice, and I would say, "Hey,
your message,
my message," and I'd be on message and on brand by saying, "Hey, good-looking, I'll be back to pick you up later."
Sure.
And I was very disappointed when I got a Mr. Microphone that it only it does not broadcast to random radio signals. That would be insane.
Yeah.
If you could usurp anyone's radio at any time.
It's not Mr. Pirate Microphone.
No. It's not some sort of Christian Slater pump up the volume situation with pirate radio. No. One had to turn their radio to a specific frequency on the radio dial, normally very, very low, some like 86.9, something that no one would be listening to.
Because there's nothing there.
There's nothing there, and that's why they pick it. It is attuned to that frequency. Instead, pick 102.7 or something like that. Something, Kiss FM, something everyone is listening to. But no, they pick it very low on the frequency. Yeah. So it's like fun if you tune your own radio to it.
Then you have a little loudspeaker.
Then you have a loudspeaker. The end.
Or you want to put it in another room. Like here's how you think when you're a kid.
Right.
I'll put it in the other room.
Sure.
And then I'll pretend like I'm a news announcer. Like,
aliens have landed.
People of Earth, this is Bartron, commander of the Martian invasion force. Your planet is in our hands.
Or I'll make fart sounds when someone sits down, like. But that's the only
big difference in our childhood.
That's the only fun to be had with this thing.
Yeah.
You can't do the "Hey, good looking, I'll be back to pick you up later"
What
scam.
about the guy who was dancing down the street singing Jingle Bells?
This motherfucker.
Holding his radio.
No attaching wires, so you're free to move around.
It's like we need to sing a song. It's got to be the public domain, though.
Yeah, what do we got?
How about Jingle Bells?
How about this melody? Dot 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 dot. Wait, not any other note? Just the one. Okay, yeah, I'll do it. I blame the actor in the commercial, too. I blame all of them.
Sure.
They should not have agreed to be in it.
None of them.
They're all complicit.
They're all complicit. They're all complicit. I don't want to hear I was just following orders.
Now, I've talked about my disappointment with the product 2 years in a row, and it came to my attention through sharp-eared listeners that the
bats
that the commercial does not imply that you would be throwing your voice into another radio.
Yeah.
It implies that you would have your own radio and turn it up so loudly that when you said, "Hey, good looking, I'll be back to pick you up later."
And Steph Curry for
What are you doing? Cody, this is the literally 10th time you have interrupted our show by watching something on the computer while you are supposed to be recording the show.
It's sort of astonishing that you still have a job here.
You're one of our oldest employees. and I love you.
This is your most reliable trait, by the way.
This is something that you do. I cannot fathom it. I cannot fathom. I'm right in the middle of one of our cherished Christmas traditions.
Tony, people look forward to this all year long.
All year long. And here I am in the middle of it.
People have just got their families gathered around
the
their
hearth.
laptop.
I'm about to make a mea culpa apology.
This has been a long time coming.
3 years in the making.
Yes.
And now I have to hear about Steph Curry? What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. That's a start. That's a start. And it may be, quite honestly, a finish. I do not have the power to fire you.
Full disclosure, no one in the room has power to fire Cody. That would explain a great deal.
But look, one can only control one's own radio, and one hopes that one has a loud enough radio.
As scripture tells us.
That one can turn it up loud enough to broadcast one's own voice to a good-looking woman as one passes by one. And that would be so distracting to them that they would look up.
So distracting.
One would think that they would have their own radios that they're listening to and not hear something like this. Although when you are listening to the radio, one should be attuned to the noises around them, especially if there are cars about.
Yeah, if you're walking around carrying a radio and holding it right up to your ear.
Sure. As pop culture in the 80s and 70s showed us. A lot of people would do this.
A lot of people would do this.
Up to the ear.
It's your responsibility to be alert and aware of your surroundings.
With one ear, listen for car sounds.
So,
and even if you're indoors, look, there are a lot of news stories every year about cars crashing into mini-marts, houses.
Yeah.
I saw Straight Outta Compton, those guys, very first scene, boom, right in the living room. So
now, can you imagine, you're in your living room, you're listening to your radio, you're not paying attention because you think, I'm in my house.
I'm in my house. Of course a car's not going to come crashing through.
That's when you have to pay attention the most.
Because that's when you least expect it. One ear, always for car sounds.
Always for car sounds. So then what, you're going to let yourself be manslaughtered? And then Jessica Fletcher has to come in on her goddamn bike?
Vehicular manslaughter,
and
she wrote.
investigate?
Oh, not this Christmas. So look, what happened was...
Here it comes, the big moment everyone's been waiting for.
I got this news. I heard, hey, you're wrong about this commercial, which is seared into your brain. My brain, specifically. I've watched so many times I've watched this commercial, and that was my impression of the Mr. Microphone. I've come to realize that, no. When you watch the commercial, I pulled up the actual commercial, and I think this cannot be the version that I watched so many times.
Here's the version that I remember that's seared into my brain.
Okay.
There is a young lady walking down the street. There are 3 guys in a convertible. They have a Mr. Microphone. The one guy says, via his car radio, hey, good looking, we'll be back to pick you up later.
Okay. Now, see, that is the version in my brain too, but the only one, the original, that is online. There are 2 commercials that I found online. The only one that features a car of gentlemen saying that, they never show the women. They never show the women.
You just see these 3 assholes?
You just see these
going,
3
hey,
assholes.
Good looking, we'll be back to pick you up later.
Yes. And I thought to myself, can that be possible that we are remembering women, beautiful women walking down the street, and then them being a reaction? But maybe.
Here's what's very, I think, a comfort. How progressive that commercial was back then.
To not show
the gender.
The gender.
They didn't show the gender of the person.
Oh,
that
that's
was
true.
The good-looking one.
Maybe you're right.
It could be a man, could be a woman.
That's true. That is a great.
So
great
it
point.
allowed you to put yourself in, if I may, the driver's seat.
Right.
What if you were that man with the Mr. Microphone? Who's the good-looking person you're seeing?
These days it's anything. Is it a table? It's like who knows what people are in love with these days? I don't know.
I don't think they were yelling at a table.
Maybe he's going antiquing. And he's like,
Hey, good looking.
I'll be back to pick you up later.
Like people who put their stuff by the side.
Yeah, it's a garage sale.
Yeah.
He could be saying it to like 2 potted plants that are sitting there.
He could be talking to the cameraman.
He could. And God damn it, I bet he is. This is the version that is the most famous version, the one that is out there. But Paul and I, and maybe you've changed your tune on this, but somehow in my recollection of this commercial, I've seen the women. I believe the women are in this commercial.
And in mine, me too.
Hashtag. Now, when we started talking about this, several years ago, we talked about it on the best ofs. We mentioned this commercial and didn't even think to look it up, really, until like maybe last year or the year before.
What was the need?
We remember this commercial.
We remembered the commercial.
We remembered it. Now, since then, we've been talking about it so many years that we looked it up and we were shocked, nay, dismayed to find.
Nay, horrified.
That the example of this commercial that is currently on the internet and indeed YouTube, these women are nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found.
It's like it's like a reverse Godless on Netflix.
Get it together. What are you trying to say?
I'm having a hard time.
Godflix.
Godflix.
You know what? If I were a Christian, instead of Netflix, where there's so much filth, I'd love Godflix. That's a good business. So we've talked about this, where we are sure, or at least I am sure, there is a version of this commercial out there that was the second version of the commercial has gone through several versions over the years.
Yes.
That there is a version out there that has the women, that we see the women's reactions and they're delighted by this man. I choose
because it is delightful.
I choose to believe that.
Yeah.
Now, here's what has happened. Was it this year that it's happened, or was it the previous year?
It was the previous year.
Ever since we talked about this on the show, all people do now, and to be honest, some people are doing it now because they know it irritates us, and they are trying to poke and prod
what's
us
funnier
than irritating people that you admire, or if not admire, at least you
get free entertainment from.
But it also happens at least every couple of weeks where it's someone doing it genuinely.
Yeah.
They will send us most times a still of a popular cartoon program.
I don't even want to say the name.
I don't want to, but I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, you're thinking of this Simpsons episode. And where you see the women, it was a parody of this commercial. They say, hey, good looking, we'll be back to pick you up later. And you see the women in this commercial.
Hey, good looking, we'll be back to pick you up later. He's in for some loving.
And our point is, no, we're not.
Yeah. No, we're not.
We're thinking of a filmed, live-action, real-life human being, not drawn commercial.
Yeah. Because that's the one we remembered from childhood, not The Simpsons.
And by the way, The Simpsons obviously remembers it because they drew it in their parody.
Obviously!
This is the point.
This is Sparta!
Please don't send us the Simpsons thing anymore. I know we're in for another month of it.
Yeah, why are we talking about this? That was a mistake.
It's a Christmas tradition. People love to hear us talk about Mr. Microphone.
And I don't want this to drive a wedge between us.
Okay, I hope not.
I don't think I was under the impression that you could just hijack people's
I think we've talked about this.
Yeah.
This is maybe my issue.
Might be your issue. The main reason for me, that's not the main reason to dislike Mr. Microphone. The main reason is it's shitty.
It is a shitty product. Plus, it's like, just buy a regular microphone and an amp.
Yeah, kids.
You can't afford an amp?
Save your paper route money.
Seriously, or go
Can't afford it.
Just staff
Can't afford an amp?
Just staff up on a sitcom. God, if you need some extra money.
Hey, just go to Harvard. We're going to lampoon. End up writing for The Simpsons to toy.
Yes, it's as easy
before
as
you
pie.
move on to something else.
Anyway, I think there has to be a later version of this commercial where you see the women. I think because here, and I
can see it in my mind very clearly.
I can too. But the version that I saw from 1978 is so old and shitty that it can't be the version that we saw so many times as a kid. Can it?
Why? Why can't it be?
It starts off, it looks so bad. Mm-hmm. It starts off with two just dopes going, hey, what do you got there? Oh, Mr. Microphone. Oh, I heard of that. It's so bad.
Here's all I remember is the guys in the car and the ladies who apparently did not exist.
Right.
And the guy with his radio on his shoulder who is walking down the street singing Jingle Bells.
An African-American gentleman who's like dancing with his ghetto blaster next to his ear and singing into a microphone.
Yes.
I think there must be a version from 1983 or so that upgraded all of these scenes. I was like, this can't be the commercial that I've seen. So I did a little research and I found a version from 1981 or 2, which upgrades the look of the commercial considerably. It looks like a professional commercial again. Right. But the hey good look the hey good looking I'll be back to pick you up later is said by a child on a bike.
Hey, good looking, I'll be back to pick you up later.
Now, I think then that's a reference to the original iconic commercial. And they were having some fun with it.
They're having some fun where they were saying like, oh, even kids can be...
Even kids want to fuck.
And that's what we want to say. Even kids want to fuck.
So let them!
Let them, moms!
Let kids fuck each other.
What if it was like 1 year on January 1st, 2017? Every elementary school.
This is a purge scenario?
Yeah, it's not even a purge scenario, but it's like on January 1st, everyone said, look, we know it's New Year's Day. Get your kids in school. I know they traditionally have it off on January 1st.
Right.
Get everyone come to the school because we have something important to say. And every single principal of every single elementary school said, guys, we're not going to look down on you guys anymore. In fact, we encourage you, all of you kids fuck each other. All the time.
All of you small children, you are free to be sexually active.
Do whatever you want. There are no rules anymore.
But look, the only rule is it's got to be consensual.
It's got to be consensual, of course. And have fun.
And have fun.
What do you think would happen?
What do I think? What happened?
And how would they all coordinate?
Would the parents all go along with it?
Yeah, they all.
Well, if all the schools got together and said it's okay.
Anyway, the other weird part about this.
Anyway, yeah.
The other strange part about this second Mr. Microphone commercial is there is a section where it is a group of Hispanic people sitting around, and it says, Señor Microfono es numero uno. And,
What?
Very weird.
And are they then singing a song in Spanish?
They're not. They're like going yay into their own, or they're going. I don't know.
They're just cheering for the Mr. Microphone.
Yeah, for the Mr. Microphone. And then there's another scene where a 12-year-old girl is at her birthday party and she has a stack of presents and she's opened 10 of them and 9 are Mr. Microphones. And she opens another one and goes, another Mr. Microphone! Yay! And everyone cheers.
I think at that point, the makers of Mr. Microphone were being...
They're stretching the truth a wee little bit.
Come on, guys.
A wee little bit. Come on, guys.
Wow.
Anything? Now, do you have anything to add to the Mr. Microphone mythos?
I was obsessed with it as a child. Never had one.
Never had one, yeah.
I don't even know if I ever saw one in person.
I don't think I had, by the way, the actual legit Ronco Mr. Microphone. I believe I had, my sister, got a Barbie version. And I was like, oh boy, one of these that I have coveted for so long so I could tell women everywhere that I was going to pick them up later.
So that you'll never know the powers of the real Mr. Microphone.
I don't know what radius it would broadcast to. So much is
probably
unsaid.
Miles.
Probably.
Yeah, I assume. I mean, I'm left to wonder, having never experienced it.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to look up those commercials because I also have not seen them in 30 years.
You'd be shocked at how bad the original one is.
These kids are having a fabulous time with Mr. Microphone, the cordless microphone that actually puts your voice on the radio.
It is so shoddily made.
I got one.
I got one.
I got one.
I got one. I got one. I got one. I got a Mr. Microphone and I love it.
There has to be a version from later on in the mid-'80s that we watched. I don't know. There has to be. I pray there was.
This is my prayer.
All right. Well, we did it. We talked about it.
Can I tell you another misleading one?
Please.
For me as a child, more misleading than the Mr. Microphone.
Okay.
There was a toy called Big Trak.
Big Trak.
It was like a futuristic tank kind of thing. And it was battery power, and the idea was it had a keypad that you could program it to do different moves and stuff.
Okay.
So you could program a sort of course for it to follow.
Okay.
And on the commercial, the kid is playing with it, and he like boop beep bop 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 bop, bop, presses on the keypad, and then Big Trak like goes around. It starts to go down, like it looks like it's going to go down some stairs, but then it like backs up, turns around, goes the other way.
Backs up,
Like,
turns around,
stops.
goes the other way.
That's right. That was you remember the song?
Yeah, of course.
Like at one point, it goes by that family cat, and then it turns and shoots a laser at the cat.
Whoa.
Which was just like a little light
thing.
flashed, and then there was, but a great noise like.
And the cat like jumped out of the way.
I think the cat just sat there.
Yeah,
But
sounds
then-
like a cat.
When you actually got the toy, which I did, and I was thrilled to the gills to get this
Oh
thing.
my goodness.
You can't figure. It takes so much trial and error to figure out the distance.
You have to pre-program everything?
Yeah, you pre-program everything.
Oh man! Meanwhile, your cat is sitting there going, well, "Come on,
I'm waiting for my scene.
get back, jump back, turn the other way."
That's what I call the Big Trak today.